Nancy, thank you so much for joining today, the Work Happy podcast. We're super excited to have you. I know we've been in communication as we've really been focused on sleep-related content. For the first quarter of 2024, we had a lot of requests on that subject from audience members and just professionals that we help, in terms of career development, career growth. So you are the sleep ambassador. You are the host of the sleep radio show. You design sleep and wellness strategies for huge organizations. I know you've been on multiple really impressive boards, whether it's the NIH or Foundation for Airway Health. But how do you get the title sleep ambassador? That's one thing I'm curious about. How can I get ambassador in my title? Where did that come from?
It's funny. I've only had one trademark thing with a large mattress company because they started using the term, and it was fortunately settled because it is well trademarked. The reason I came up with that title many years ago was that I'm a bridge between the public, and every sleeper is a member of the public, whether they're a CEO or employee or at the checkout counter or they're whatever they do, we are all sleepers. So I decided that I'm an ambassador because I bridge the public, which includes corporations, executives, all of that, and to resources in the field of sleep, be they clinical, be they research, be they products and services. So my job was to serve as an ambassador to help people sleep, because nobody can sleep for you but you. And we outsource, and we're all good at outsourcing. We can outsource all kinds of things, from dog walking to different. We have to do an Excel spreadsheet. We give the data to someone, they do it. But you cannot outsource your sleep.
That's
As
true.
I said, no one can sleep for you but you. And I realized, because my first book I wrote was on hedging interest rate risk. It was on finance. My background is in finance. And I just realized that there was a return on investment, an ROI, to a good night's sleep. And I took all my skills from the business world and investing and risk management, which was a big part of my work.
Related, yeah.
And said, wait a minute, other people can do all that in finance, but nobody's really doing anything on looking at sleep as an asset versus sleep-deprived employees as a liability for all kinds of reasons: costs, safety, healthcare, everything, loyalty, focus, teamwork. And I said, I'm going to just transfer all this, and I'm going to focus on the ROI of good night's sleep in all respects. And therein was born the Sleep Ambassador.
Go into a little bit more if you could.
So funny you say that, because that I will always thank my ex, whom I get along with fine. I will always thank him for snoring. So one day I'm in my daughter's kindergarten classroom and I'm helping, and I'm in finance. I've written a book on finance. I'm managing a lot of money we had a big brokerage firm and institutionally and blah, blah, blah. And he's snoring it. And I'm sitting in the classroom in my daughter's kindergarten, nodding off. And I take out a piece of construction paper, and believe me, I still have it because I show it when I do things at school. And I write the first draft of this book, My Daddy Snores. Can you see it?
Yeah, perfect. Right there, we see it. Yeah,
it's the last 6 books.
Yeah,
like
love it.
540 or 50,000 copies later, because it's a huge. I write this book on a piece of construction paper. Fast forward, my ex's dental sleep medicine doctor becomes a friend. He happens to have a patient who is very senior at Scholastic Books, and My Daddy Snores is born.
That is amazing how that works.
And then I said, so if you look at my website, thesleepambassador.com, under About Us, it says My Snory. Get it? And
we've talked about, I have 3 young daughters and they will all tell you My Daddy Snores. So
wait, I sent you this, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. Yep.
I mean, being a children's book author is such an honor and a joy. I'm just finishing another children's book for a research project at Harvard and Boston Children's Hospital.
Man, that's
And
awesome.
like, I think I'm on draft 97. I keep changing to V. I think I'm at V8 or 9 because I refuse to put draft 90. I just can't do it again. I do save every draft because there's just little innuendos there that you keep. But
That's amazing. Yeah.
the long story short, snoring spouse, risk management, finance background, recognized that people needed help and thought I could be the ambassador that would help them.
That's amazing. I love hearing where people kind of come from and how they get to where they're going. I'm just fascinated by it because it's never like this. It's never a straight line. It's always all
Yeah.
over the place. Yeah. But I mean,
Yeah.
you could also say those are related. So it's not like it's that much of a stretch.
No, it's so interesting because I find, I was supposed to give a lecture this month at a big brain mapping conference, and I couldn't do it. I just have too much going on. I had to finish the book and some consulting projects. But what's different about me with an MBA after my name versus an MD in the sleep world is I'm looking at this from a corporate and a personal perspective, but I'm just looking at this a little bit differently. So, for example, I'm LinkedIn, the company's resident sleep expert. So through their wellness programming, although this could easily, you could put sleep and learning and development for those of you who are listening, who are in HR, for example. If somebody is sleep deficient, they're not going to be able to focus when they're off at some conference for learning and development. So, and I mean, if you did a survey of your workforce, you're going to find that certainly over half of the people are having struggles with sleep. I'm being generous with that stat. So a select group, I'm very picky about it based on how I feel about their product and its impact and need as a resource, because billions of dollars people are spending on sleep, on mattresses and this and that app and this and this. And, and I want to help steer them to things that are going to be impactful for them at not a ridiculous cost. I'm also very particular about the messaging. I mean, I've had companies come to me to consult to them, and I said, if what you say is true, let's just go straight for a Nobel Prize. And
you're like, okay.
I mean, you can't say that.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'm consulting to a company because I was using one of the products this morning, and I think it's great, but I'm sort of feel like I need to steer them with some of their messaging because it's not realistic for the person who might use it. It's what messaging do you need to tell somebody about what they're going to buy or use or do to help them sleep better?
Yeah. And you have to kind of put them in that place so they can see it and feel it, for themselves. But one of my favorite parts of your messaging of the LinkedIn Learning course was when you talked about some of the tech. We're all wearing tech now. We've got mattresses that are laden with technology, but I think you said the most sophisticated sleep technologies inside of us, and we're sabotaging it. But I love that line. I would never thought that.
I have not said that lately. Thank you for that. I will in the next interview I do or whatever.
You should. That was a great line. It really stuck with me.
Technology is inside of you. Now, this ring, maybe it's an Oura ring. It may be helping me see what's happening.
Right.
And that I needed in the last few weeks for assorted reasons with another product. I needed to monitor some stuff. I don't like looking at all this and seeing this data. I like to know how I feel in the morning.
Right. That's the true test.
It's working. Yeah. I can pause in the morning and stop and say, and I've been meditating for over 50 years. So, that's part of my life, an important part to reset. But I think that it's really important to understand your own technology. It really, really is. And it's so subtle, but so real that you just need to stop and pause and say, wait a minute, I am falling asleep every afternoon. And my spouse says I'm snoring and gasping for air. Well, 75%, 85% of the people who have sleep apnea are undiagnosed.
Yeah, that's a huge number. That's crazy.
And it hasn't changed in the, 17, 18 years I've been at this.
Yeah, and do you find a challenge when you're consulting or talking to these corporate teams or trying to plug in, sleep into their programs? I mean, is there a resistance from them? What battles do you have when you're trying to get that message across? Because I think you can look at their people and say, you guys are exhausted, you're missing things, we're missing deadlines. I mean, there's definitely things that add up, and I think that's where those costs come from in terms of productivity costs. But what's the challenge for you? What are corporate people and leaders not seeing that you can kind of help them understand?
One of the first things that cut with budgets is wellness,
Yeah.
JAR, and all these lovely programs. And no question, your nutrition and your fitness are paramount.
Yeah.
But the one that's going to, I call it the wellness triangle, fitness, nutrition, and sleep. And I put spirituality or whatever you want to call it in the middle, because that's a problem for a lot of people.
Sure.
I think that sleep is so integral to performance. It is so integral to teamwork and leadership and functionality and executive function. And everybody, everybody listening to this, executive function doesn't mean you're an executive. It doesn't mean you're in the C-suite.
Yeah.
It's certain aspects of your functionality. And the sleep deficit or sleep deprivation, whether you've got a sleep disorder or you're just, have poor sleep habits or you've got too much stress or whatever, are going to impact your life. And guess what? Here's a big word. It's not sustainable. I wrote an article for Deepak Chopra's site a number of years ago. It was sustainability in sleep, protecting the environment within and around you. We're also, we're recycling everything, but got to recycle your sleep possibly because, you're so careful about the external environment. But what about this? This is because without this internal environment functioning well, the external environment, you're not going to be able to help, enjoy, all of that. So the resistance I get, I don't even really market if you look at my website under services and courses, it says I'm a strategic consultant. And that's like going to a company and helping them with their messaging and all that, maybe not being a spokesperson so much. You want me arm's length. You don't want me touting your product. You want me telling you why you need, why you need X, Y. You certainly need a fine mattress and a good pillow, et cetera, et cetera. But corporate executives need to understand that sleep, how someone sleeps at home is going to impact whether it's hybrid, they're working in the office or home.
Right.
It's going to impact how they function at work, and it's going to impact their bottom line. And there's more and more research and data on that. So the pushback is just, how much does it cost, by the way? We didn't even, we could go in. Well, what does it cost to support employee sleep? You just got my course. You just started my course, Sleep Well, Live Well. And that's different. Sleep is Your Superpower and LinkedIn Learning is a half an hour course.
Yep.
That's really a course, and it's great. And it's a start, but you don't change sleep overnight when you've got, chronic issues or habits that are poor. Sleep Well, Live Well, on the other hand, is a 4-week sleep improvement program that includes an 1.5-hour videos course and a 4-week program to empower the person, the user, the sleeper, to become intimate with their sleep, pun intended, and to understand their sleep better. Nobody's looking at the data unless the client or whoever, if it's a company, wants data on, and we'll put in some surveys. But if it costs, well, it's $147. So let's say there's a discount for the company, $50 more. You're an affiliate now.
Yeah.
It'll be Work Happy 50 and people get $50 off the sticker price. Is $147 or $97 a lot to spend on better sleep versus going out and spending hundreds of dollars on this and that and this product and that product and monitoring your sleep and getting what's called orthosomnia, which is anxiety from trying to sleep correctly and wearing this ring for a couple of weeks. It was like, oh my God, I see how people develop orthosomnia. You become a little obsessed with your sleep score every day.
Just even you talking about all those different things adding up, it made me a little bit anxious. That's a lot to track, for a person.
But that's why you've got to keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
No one needs more to do. But if you spend the time you have a little differently and you make choices like removing yourself from these or wearing blue light blockers if you absolutely have to do something so that you are honoring your biology.
Yeah, sure.
It's our behaviors have changed, not our biology.
Yeah.
And we're inflicting our behaviors on our biology. Hence, our internal technology is suffering.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like I think I use the word sabotage. I mean, I can see when I'm doing things that I know are going to, affect my sleep in a negative way. And whether that's wearing earbuds as I fall asleep, and like you talked about in your course, your brain is just continuing to process, even though you are sleeping. But if you have an earbud and you're listening to that murder podcast or you're listening to a game, your brain is just you're just going, you're sabotaging yourself. Same thing with, having a couple bourbons where you watch a basketball game or a baseball game late at night and then expecting your body to shut down, you're completely sabotaging yourself.
No, it might help you fall, glass red wine or whatever may help you fall asleep or that bourbon, but it's going to play havoc with your sleep cycles.
Sure.
Again,
Yeah.
you hit it's the best sleep technology is inside of us.
Yeah.
And it's biology versus behavior. And we're inflicting behaviors on our biology. And that's why we're even having this conversation.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and I know kind of if you look at self-improvement in terms of that as a market, $40 billion, I think they're expecting it to be up to 80 billion by, what did I find? 2032. So we are all obsessed with this, self-improvement. What can I do to improve myself? But then when it comes to something as foundational as sleep, we're kind of like, nah, you know what? I'm still gonna do my thing, and I'll catch up on sleep when I'm dead. You hear people say that all the time. So, but
When I'm dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, when I'm dead, if you're going to wait to sleep when you're dead, you're going to be dead sooner.
Sooner, exactly.
There's plenty of data on that.
Yeah, you'll be sleeping before you want. Yeah,
when I'm dead. Well, you'll be dead. It reminds me of a senior executive said to me years ago, "Oh, I think I have that," meaning sleep apnea. And he said, "But some things you learn to live with." And I said, "Some things you get diagnosed and treated so you can live." I mean, the data.
That's a whole mindset shift for people. Yeah.
Even exposure to the blue light on your toothbrush is enough to screw up your melatonin.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Biology versus behavior.
Yeah, I love it. That's your next book. It's a kid's book right there.
Thank you, Thomas Edison.
Where do you feel, when people are really struggling with sleep, or you mentioned kind of when we hopped on pre-show that you're not sleeping great. The sleep ambassador is not, sleeping the best. We all kind of go through those cycles. I feel like work gets crazy, family stuff happens. How can you overcome that as a busy professional? I mean, you kind of just grin and bear it through those situations, knowing that kind of sleep's on the other side, or what do you tell people in terms of how to overcome those really stressful moments?
I'm probably one of the few people around who, when she first learned she had mild sleep apnea, was sort of excited.
I could see that about you. Yeah, let's dig into this. Yeah.
Here I am. I've written this book. Yeah. My ex had it. I didn't. And suddenly I'm diagnosed with mild sleep apnea. So I wear a CPAP for 3 months. It was not what I needed. I got an oral appliance, jutted my jaw forward from a dental sleep expert, jutted my jaw forward, opened my airway, and wrote a nasal dilator called Mute, MUTE snoring.com. It's a marvelous, it doesn't cure sleep apnea, but it's a good stepping stone. It's certainly good for snoring.
Okay.
I consulted to them for 5 years. It's a beautiful little nasal dilator device. And I was sort of excited because it forced me, and by the way, I'd already before then was the NIH's on the Sleep Disorders Research Advisory Board for the NIH, National Institutes of Health. I was there as the public advocate for sleep apnea, for dealing with sleep apnea. Sure. And then I had it. It was sort of cool, but I don't anymore. I had another mild thing, which is impacting my sleep. I'm actually working on that with a marvelous, terrific sleep doctor. And you can go to your primary care, but my primary care is terrific. He happens to know the sleep doctor, but you want to have somebody who's proficient. I mean, if you have a broken leg, or you have an issue with your ear, or you have an issue with your heart. Your primary care is great, but you go to a specialist.
Yep.
So when you have a problem with your sleep, you go to a specialist. You go to somebody who's board certified in sleep and knows what they're talking about.
Yep.
So I did that. And because of this issue, we won't go into because I don't want to confuse people. It wasn't anything about my sleep habits. I mean, I pretty much practice what I profess. I'm really good about turning off my phone and that kind of stuff. Or at least if I had to be on, I have blue blocking glasses on, but really good ones that really do the trick. But I experienced, and I'm under a lot of stress because of a situation that impacted my residence, and so
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a temporary home for it was 11 months yesterday,
Wow.
and my lists have babies of what I have to do for the renovation of my home, and it's like, oh my God, it's like I have 2 full-time jobs,
Yeah.
and some of you listening, we all know people who have 3 full-time jobs plus kids. So no violins for me, but what I'm doing with this is understanding. It's not like I wasn't empathic before. I wouldn't be doing this. I'm that kind of a person, but I really, oh my God, 3, 4 nights, a week and a half of poor sleep.
Yeah.
And seeing it with this, I didn't want to see it anymore. It's like, how could this be? I've never had this happen before. But it just made me understand it's complicated. 2, seek help if you cannot. Maybe you have bona fide insomnia. It's not that you have poor sleep habits like caffeine at bedtime and, it's watching TV, murders shows in bed or whatever you're doing, or the news. That's bad enough.
It's even worse. Yeah.
Maybe you need help. And so I literally signed up for this CBTI. Now, everybody, what does that stand for? Cognitive Behavior Therapy for Insomnia. Now, that is the best versus drugs and results. I'm signed up for it later this month, but why would you have to wait a month if you needed it really badly? I'm going to go through it because Sleep Well, Live Well is based on CBTI. It is based on those principles, and it was vetted by lots of sleep doctors and used at a major healthcare institution for their staff. So it's the real deal. But so I'm the sleep ambassador. Okay, so now I'm going to go through this CBTI thing virtually. I thought that'll be cool. I'll learn more.
I love it.
And so,
yeah,
but it is everybody, for those of you who struggle with sleep, it's really debilitating.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, oh my God, this is what people go through all the time. I went to my ophthalmologist yesterday, and she said, "You're usually like so energized.
They're depending on you to come in and
tired.
Pick them up." Yeah.
I said, I am, and I said, it's troubling to me, but I'm here admitting to all of you that the sleep ambassadors had some sleep struggles in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm learning from it.
Well, that's good. You're vulnerable about it. You're not trying to put on that fake front. I think people are sick of that. So I love that you're authentic with people. That's great.
Oh, gotta be. And
yeah,
but I'm doing something about it.
Yeah, true.
And I am seeing an expert. And, when they find out what I do, it's like, well, you know all this. And I say, let's pretend I know nothing.
Exactly. Let's start from scratch. Yeah.
Let's pretend I know nothing and tell me what to do.
Well, I think that's a great kind of pull out quote from this talk is you were excited to find out you had some mild sleep apnea. I've never heard anyone say that.
Oh, that was years ago. And in fact, when I had another sleep study in August and we repeated it in January, and I didn't have sleep apnea unless I slept on my side, as just at the cutoff. I mean, on my back, just at the cutoff. And I was like, okay, so should I wear my oral? I shouldn't wear my oral appliance anymore. Now, a little bit on the fence about that.
Yeah.
But I was just like, oh, and then this other thing pops up and I'm like, oh, God, how could that happen? And then I'm like, all right, let's see what this is all about. So I know the universe is having me experience these things.
Sure. To help other people, right? Yeah, exactly. Well, I love that. Let's talk about career. Just, I mean, we keep these short for people, so we've got about 7, 8 minutes left. But when you talk about, this is obviously the Work Happy podcast, so a ton of people are unhappy with what they're doing. They're at work right now, maybe falling asleep. They're not engaged. They're not loving what they're doing. What advice do you have for them? And tie it into sleep or tie it into your own experience. But how do you get unstuck in those situations? Have you been in those kind of scenarios, Nancy, where you've had to pull out of that, or you've helped someone with that? What can they do to find that career happiness?
First of all, you have to pause and stop
Yeah.
and say, what's bothering me here? What don't I like about work?
Yeah.
Pause. There's Headspace you've probably heard of.
Yep.
A wonderful app. And I get these mindful moments. And one of them yesterday was a great one. Go for a walk and leave your phone behind. Notice how much you notice with your head up. Well, I walk a lot, and I often say, which I love, is I pick one of my senses and I focus on that on the walk.
That's interesting. That's great.
Either sight, or depending on your smell, or touch. It's having these mindful moments and pausing and saying, what is it I don't like about my job? Is it that I don't have enough to do? I have too much to do? Do I feel heard? Do I have people to relate to? I'm working at home now, so I'm like, I don't see anybody. I mean, you need to say, nobody can work for you but you. Nobody can sleep for you but you. So you need to say, well, what is it about this that's bothering me? And instead of deflecting everything to the outside, what is it you need? What are you missing? And is it from work? Maybe you're pulling your personal life into your work, or these dreams you thought you always were supposed to do X, and you're doing X and you're not happy.
Yeah.
And nothing is wrong with the word happy. As a matter of fact, here's a moment. I get these things after I do TM. Enjoy your life and be happy. Being happy is of the utmost importance. I repeat, enjoy your life and be happy. Being happy is of the utmost importance. So what do you do when the world is falling apart around you?
Yeah.
People are miserable. People are sad. People are grieving. I mean, that's another story. I wrote a book about that. It's called Rising in the Morning.
Oh, that's a good
Unintended, MOURNING, Ways to Celebrate Life. It's on Amazon. Rising in the Morning, Ways to Celebrate Life. Because I help people rise in the morning and rise in the morning. Here's another one. Be happy, healthy, and let all that love flow through your heart. We have an infinite number of reasons to be happy and a serious responsibility not to be serious. That doesn't mean you don't look at all of these things in the world and not observe them, but
oblivious. Yeah.
This is really important. It is okay to enjoy, to have lovely things, and to feel happy. Because guess what? If the whole world is miserable, there's no balance. The balance is terrible. We need us to be happy. We need us to find the joy in these blessings that we're given do you know, like at the ophthalmologist yesterday, I was like, she's a brilliant behavioral optometrist. And I'm like, ophthalmologist. And I'm like, oh my God, I can see. And watching her slides, she's showing me some of pictures from her lecture I could not believe the fact that I'm talking to you through a computer, bounced off satellites, we're both wearing glasses so we can see.
Yeah.
What a miracle.
Amazing. I know.
It is so amazing. And we need to appreciate those blessings. We need to feel, it's okay, everybody, to feel happy. It doesn't mean you're not empathic. I'm empathic to people who are sleep deprived more than ever, but and are compassionate if it's not your experience. Kudos to you for focusing on work happy. There's a whole work-life balance. One of my favorite lines, it was from a woman who was a big executive in Hollywood. And she said, you can have it all, but not all at the same time. Sometimes really true. So I think it's just, I was looking here, life is here to enjoy. There's one that says, if you feel I can't find it right now, but if you feel something is wrong in your life, then change it.
I mean, pushing people into that, it's that mindset shift. And I think Jim Carrey said something about he wishes everybody could do exactly what they wanted and make as much money as humanly possible so they can find out that that's not the answer. You know, oh, that's a great quote because he nails
Oh,
it.
I love that.
We put too much into work sometimes and expect it to do something for us. So we might as well find something that's enjoyable, and that's what we're working on.
This whole concept for executives and scientists about being happy or your spirituality or prayer, people are fussy about it. I mean, I'm very conscious when I'm in an audience whether I'm going to mention, I'm writing a book on on sleep and spirituality and philosophy and all that kind of stuff. So it's very much attuned to me, but I'm conscientious of the corporate world and how they look at it, or the scientific world, because you can't prove a lot of that. And then Andrew Huberman, who's sort of the it scientist right now out of the Huberman lab at Stanford. And he's a smart guy, got a podcast, talks a lot about sleep.
Yeah.
And talked about, it was on Instagram a couple of weeks ago, about prayer and how he started to pray and looked at that there's something bigger than he is. And how important it is, and how he feels different, feels an expansion, so, I mean, like, it's getting a lot of press because it wasn't what you get out of his mouth, because he's a scientist. But look, it's a very big part of my life. And whether you say God or the universe or something, but there is something bigger than us. I mean, just look at the insides of a flower or rose budding, or the fact that you look at a new baby. And it's extraordinary. And look what humans have done, that we are talking to each other through beams off of satellites and all of this. But, it's body, mind, and spirit. And to think that that isn't there, fine. But there is something bigger than us. And we're all in this together. But at the end of the day, unintended, no one can sleep for you but you.
Yeah.
and you need that nighttime when all kinds of stuff is going on that can't go on. And if you're wearing earbuds or have the TV on all night, you're just asking your brain to do work it shouldn't be doing when it should be doing its night work, like your lymphatic system literally cleansing your brain out.
I know that one for me, because then I'm visual, so I like to think of what's happening behind the scenes, and that's like, I'm not putting this earbud in tonight. I got to get that cleansing. The stuff has to be happening.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, the science behind it's amazing. Nancy, one question I try to end on, even when I talk to job seekers, everybody likes to talk about this subject, but think back to when you were a kiddo, 5, 7, 8, back when you started really thinking about maybe, I kind of would like to do that for a job. What was it for you? What did you kind of want to be when you grew up? And then if you could go back and talk to that version of Nancy right now, what advice would you give? I talked to somebody last week who said he wanted to be a professional athlete, and he played sports in college. He had all these big expectations on himself. And he wished he could go back and tell the kid version, calm down, dude, like, have some fun, enjoy it. Almost kind of what you talked about earlier. I thought that was a pretty good insight. So can you think about that, Nancy, in terms of what you wanted to be when you were a kiddo? What would you tell that version of yourself today?
God, it's such a great question. And my answer, I'm standing in my bedroom as a kid, and I don't remember thinking, I want to be this, I want to be that.
Yeah.
I knew that there was something much bigger. I knew that I was fascinated by certain things about life, but I never felt closed in a box. I always felt reached for my goals. And my goals were, to be at my best, do at my best, and surround myself with, good people and learn a lot. I wanted to go to, I shouldn't even say it, an Ivy League school. I wanted to go to the best college I could, and I did.
Yeah.
It wasn't that anything else would have been less than, and I majored in international relations and business. Um, I liked to write, although it wasn't like I was focusing on creative writing or journalism or something. But what I knew was that I could be what I wanted to be. And there were so many options, and I was going to do what I could do to be my best self. And so at like 20-ish, 19, 20, I started doing TM, Transcendental Meditation, tm.org. I know that's affected my brain function over all these years. What would I tell? Because I'm very big because of some processes I've done and things I've learned and things I've become certified in, at looking back at that inner child, at looking back, particularly in stages of things that people carry grief or trauma or things with them. Not usually the positive stuff. That's not what they're thinking of. It's like, and I go back and I hug that part of myself.
Yeah.
I think that, wow, she just needs to know she's okay now. That's not me anymore.
Yeah, that's great.
Feel loved and heard. So to me, it's more looking back if there's moments that I want to, that pop back. And I go back and say, that was then, I'm not there, but acknowledge to that inner child, to that inner self, young adult or whatever, that it's okay, that you're heard. But
something as simple as that, I mean, can have a huge impact on a kid and change. You see how important teachers are. You see how important mentors and people at church and all that stuff, because sometimes these kids' home lives are just not in great shape. It doesn't take much to steer them a little bit, so even if it's a hug or a word. So I love that. That's a great answer.
But even to yourself.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like going back and seeing that 7-year-old self of me when something happened, or whatever, whenever, and going back and just pausing to just give that inner you, that child in you, a hug and say, I hear you. We're okay now. That's past. We can let go.
Powerful.
But if you need therapy, I have a daughter who's a psychotherapist, go get therapy. This does not mean you have to do everything on your own. Sometimes we need a guide. We need a mentor. We need a therapist. We need somebody who can help us process, like needing a sleep doctor if you think you have a problem.
Yeah, love it. Awesome stuff. I mean, I bet we have 10 little one-liners that we can take out of that. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for sharing. Is there anything you want to let people know about in terms of a specific, I mean, obviously your course, you've written 5,000 books, you've got, what do you want to let people know about that might be kind of new and exciting that they can be looking for?
Good sleep is possible.
There we go.
Need some, go to the sleepambassador.com. There's lots of good articles, and consider taking either Sleep is Your Superpower or Sleep Well, Live Well. And if you sign up for Sleep Well, Live Well, do it through Joe's site. He's an affiliate. He believes in it. He's looking, doing the program now.
Sure.
Just know that good sleep is possible. And as my logo says, sleep well, live well. They're just very intertwined.
Yep. Love it. Nancy, thanks so much.